I would love to see it. I mean, more for
we have our priorities. Whenever you're ready. So you still need the table, you okay, we'll wait. Wow. Oh, yeah. That's right. That's why we need, there's always more people. Yeah. You're talking about government people, business people. That's right. Yeah. Okay, let's come on back and reconvene. And we'll wait till you get that. Okay. All right. Let's pick up where we left off. And basically, we're in the last agenda item under old business now, where we have an opportunity as the commission to formally provide our comments regarding the draft Hawaii County Energy Sustainability Plan. And I know last time at the previous meeting, we only had a few days to look at it before the meeting. So I consider that opportunity to be a very preliminary review opportunity. And this time around, now that we've had a little bit more time to read through it and digest what was in it, I'd like to allow the commission to get as much of the relevant comments and revisions and suggestions for improvement on the record. And so I think it's important that we do that and capture what it is, especially the items, given that the county and the Kohala Center are going to provide this opportunity to enlarge the work that was done to the extent that it accommodates some of the deficiencies that we might have noted or point out or see, or things that may be missing that we think may be needed. This is a perfect opportunity to get that on the record and suggest what needs to be added. So, I really don't have a process in mind for how to logically do this. I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts about, like, do we want to take it by section? Do we want to just open it up for comments? Do we want to go around one by one? Anyone have any preferences? How we proceed?
I do, because I have comments on two levels. I have general comments, and I have specific comments. It'd be nice to kind of see what people think about general report first.
Okay. So, would you prefer to go around the table then, general comments?
And then maybe we get through.
Anyone else have any suggestions on how to proceed? Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Let's start off they'll review comments with the high-level, general kinds of comments that could accommodate, I suppose, the general content that's in the plan right now, as well as content that we see may be useful to have added to the plan or should be addressed in some regard. And why don't we start with you, Kurt, since it was your idea.
I was glad to hear that, others felt maybe the executive summary should be shortened a little bit, because I kind of felt that way. I think it's a fact that most people are going to primarily read that. I mean, the main section is so big, it's going to be hard for people to digest it. But as that's done, I think, and I did circulate this draft around others in Helco, and got some opinion from people who are writers. And the consensus I got was that the executive summary needs to state more of the results of analysis and conclusions. It kind of looked as though a lot of stuff was kind of information was taken from the body and put into the executive summary, but because it was done selectively, in some cases it didn't really give the reader a conclusion. I'll give an example. And this ties into some of the areas that I'm a little unhappy with. I mentioned the geothermal before, and I guess I just want to start with that. I've got basically 4 points I want to make here. One is on the geothermal, and that is, I think, the county underwent this process of the geothermal working group recently, and it wasn't for this report is dated January 1, and yet I cannot find anything in the executive summary that refers to it, okay? And while I understand the sensitivities, of the technology and the county wanting to be careful that, nobody gets, rolled over in the development, I think that there's a basic contrast between how supportive of the technology the county was in this report and how it just kind of leaves back and doesn't really say anything about geothermal development in this. So that's I didn't like the way decoupling is handled in this report. I mean, it's what came through. I think there's a lot of information in the body again, but what came through the executive summary that the main impact with decoupling is that it's going to raise rates. Well, I can think of 20 things that can raise rates. Okay, so maybe that should be the discussion. But I think one of the major points that doesn't come through is that the decoupling makes it possible for the private sector to make investments in energy efficiency and renewable energy without going bankrupt, essentially. So I think that point is kind of missing. I'd like to see that come forward a little bit better in the spirit of the fact that it's going to take cooperation among all sectors to make this work. It's not just government alone, it's not the private sector alone, it's not interest groups or community groups alone, but it's everybody working together. I think that's a theme that I think the mayor has really extolled upon himself.
Another question
Yeah.
on decoupling, because I don't fully understand it, but are there scenarios where decoupling actually decreases rate?
Not by itself, but I think the sustainability vision is of investment, but also energy efficiency and energy conservation that does utilize technologies that compensate for the investments that are made. So that overall, the idea is that down the road, people have a more economical source of energy, as that's true with transportation as electricity. So that's why I think that's missing if you only state that decoupling puts upward pressure on prices. Then it makes it look like, well, gosh, if we only get rid of this darn thing, then we'd be okay. And I don't think that's true. And other factors would come into play that would hinder the sustainability initiatives.
You've been at utility conferences, so decoupling, from what I understand, was a primary initiative to let utilities, and it started on the mainland, cent per kilowatt hour like California, or is it 5 cents?
The term decoupling has many connotations, but in the sense that I'm using it is in the recent approval by the commission of rate decoupling, revenue decoupling for the utilities, which is the companies will set their base rates in a rate case, and then no matter what efforts to encourage energy efficiency or conservation, sales levels, or even other technologies like electric vehicle sales could go up or down. If sales go down, that the company not be tied to a need to sell more kilowatt hours in order to remain profitable. If sales go up, then the utility company not profit by that, not be able to take advantage of that by getting a windfall. So kind of both ways. So that's how I meant.
So in a really robust economy, it would probably work against you. And so it's you're saying if there's more tourism activity, more energy use, it might work against you.
Yeah, we would not be able to increase, say, our profit margins because of a sales factor. And that there's an annual adjustment mechanism that keeps that in line. Is the actual formal rate case proceeding that determines what will be the rates and what will be the allowed return for the utility. Okay, yeah, third point, in the biodiesel, okay, there's a lot about biodiesel for transportation, and yet, there is an ongoing initiative, it's called the Aina Koa Pono initiative, that last year, the companies had a contract agreement to purchase biodiesel, and the commission didn't approve it. But that initiative is still alive, it's still happening, and there is no mention of it whatsoever. And I do think that that biodiesel is going to be important, not just for transportation, but it's going to be important in the electric sector. And so I think the county should be supportive of that as well. And my fourth point was just the structure of the executive summary, which I already commented on. So that's my general comments.
Okay, thank you. I guess it's only fair, you may not have any feedback or insight, but I'll give you an opportunity if you want to comment on anything as we go. So just offer that up, either between speakers.
Okay, thank you. Actually, just like I say, these folks will probably wait until the end. We actually have responded to your geothermal working group request, and so that has been changed and executive summary we're working on. We'll take that into advisement, but it's been worked on. Thank you.
Okay, other general comments. Julie, do you want to go next? Okay. Linda?
Brian and I had a chance to meet with Chris and Dave a few weeks ago, so we could share our comments then. But I'll just throw it.
Please reiterate, because they weren't on the record
Right.
at that point, and I think it's important to be captured formally.
So on the very general, and this is, I mean, I know I'm here because I have a different perspective. I don't have the expertise in the systems, but from the end user perspective, as I went through everything, my main thought is, okay, this is great, but how, like Tommy says, how do you get it out into the community? So I did have a couple thoughts on that, and one that just might be really wacky, but I thought, when the end product is done and everybody's happy with it, make it a seminar that every high school senior has to take. Because it's not just us in our age group, but it's the next generation who's going to be coming up and starting households and things like that need to know these things and learn these skills, and if we can catch them early on, that might do as much effect as hitting the working folks, the 40 and 50-year-olds. So that was just one basic comment. And then also, I'm always thinking about the hotels, because I know it's just behind the county, probably the largest employer, and it just seems to me it's such a great opportunity to get a massive, critical mass of people together to do training. Again, looking at how do we get this information out to the public. And depends on each hotel company and what their economics are, but to me, it seems like it would be worthwhile maybe to incentivize the big hotel companies to do training with their employees, either for their own on-site work, like towards the benchmarking systems. So I was thinking about how do we incentivize, sorry, we didn't go into too much of this, but, you know, how do you incentivize a hotel company to embrace the benchmarking? Particularly difficult with hospitality because you have to keep your guests happy and you can't force them to turn down their air conditioning or to not do certain things. They're thinking that they can do whatever they want, whatever they want. So for us to have a real impact on reducing energy usage, somehow we've got to affect the hotels and have incentives for them to train their employees on site to use energy better. Even though we can't really affect the guest usage, but maybe we can. And then also that's just hundreds and hundreds of people that we could, you know, have all in one place at one time and give them this kind of education. And they're totally different sorts of things that I'm looking at, but that's.
Well, and I think the focus that you're bringing up on education is an area that we mentioned before that could be elaborated on. So I think it is meaningful to include that.
This is a broader, which I think is a little narrow as well. I think that it's broadly speaking.
Okay. Guy, do you have general comments that you want to offer?
Yeah, well, I think, I very much enjoyed the way it was written. I like the use of graphics. It's very well done in my opinion. I think I would have to agree with Kurt a little bit that maybe the exhibition is a little bit on the long side, but not overly that much. And I'm on the assumption, of course, that this is always going to be a continually updated and modified document that is it, that part I wasn't really clear about, in the actual contract for the company and having the frequencies. Was it meant to be adopted by the county? Because obviously it's always going to be continuously changing. Even some of the items in here will be updated very soon. I mean, outdated very soon. So this is probably going to be I'm on the assumption that this is just the basis for what will always be an updated document, a living document that the policymakers will then refer to as well.
I think with, you want a response? Okay, so I think with the Green Government Action Plan, that was a hard, like, Alex's charter, like, let's get this through, let's get this done. So you have that document with some projects and some CIP tags. Nice. With this document, there wasn't a charter for me to update it. We are going to hire another sustainability coordinator or transition zone or whatever we're going to do. So there will be that position. I don't know if that would be their charter. I'd like to say that my charter is more project-based, but I think this would fall under me as well. So I know Alex was very interested in sticking around for this because he's planning process and plans and having a plan, that's what he's all about. And versus what I've been doing is trying to pick the projects and move this forward. So I'd like to say we're going to update. That's a great idea. I will check if I have bandwidth to do that. So it seems like a pretty enormous thing to keep updating. Maybe the Energy Advisory Commission would have that charter. I mean, is it true or is it not that the Energy Advisory Commission charter is to take the sustainability plan like you just did 10 months ago and embed the actionable items or put in the plan? While you were chair,
Is that true? I believe our purpose of this commission is to gather information and then make policy recommendations specifically for the mayor alone.
Right,
So,
and then
yeah.
I think when the plan became, as you said, when the plan became a little stagnant, you took and threw out some of the stuff that you said, hey, you know, this is already done, or this is not the current paradigm. So I think working with you guys on this on an ongoing basis is gonna be what I would recommend.
So in the body area there, Dave and Chris have outlined, a renewal or, examination, internally. I mean, so I don't remember what includes this one, but.
I mean, we certainly expect that the PAC will continue to exist, and that's up to the mayor, of course. But we do lay out what we suggest the county do in terms of, treating this document as living, like you said, and continually updating it as, both as new information comes to light and also as the priorities of the county change over time as well. So there's a lot in there about that, and it's kind of directed more towards the county staff to help them with that process.
Is that it? Okay, Tom, general comments? Earlier I met with Chris and David, and I gave him my information that I'd written up a couple of years ago. I think I still stand by that information. Serve as a template for studying the various components where we need to go. But basically, I'm encouraged to learn my IRP as well. And my hope is that we move from a position of really education, where we're trying to move people from a fear position or unknown or distrust to a trust position, and where there's hope. Because our general population needs to know that the future is bright and not so dreary, and that there's too many takers ahead of them, and nobody willing to share. So we need to move from a position of distrust to a position of trust, so that we can give our people hope. We need a who though? Everybody that's here on island, not special interest groups, not government over directing, but everybody sharing what we have. And includes knowledge transfer. Again, you can only transfer knowledge if people are willing to listen to you and form opinions based on information you provided. And perception is reality. So we need to change people's perception to one of trust and hope. And it's pretty simple, but the educational process will be difficult here. But again, we need to hear each other out, and we need to bring more people into the conversation. Thank you. Rod, do you have general comments?
Yeah, I think as the document matching what the objectives are listed in the introduction, I think there's a lot of good recommendations that to follow some helpful as a sort of operational plan for the 5 years. What seems to be missing is beyond that. And I know it's supposed to be for 5 years, but before the end of the 5 years, we can start thinking about where we're going to get beyond that. And if that can be included somehow, the vision for the entire county isn't necessarily all under control of the county government, but the county government can have a role in that transformation. And some of those elements are there. Landlord association is a thing where really the county doesn't really have authority, but it's providing the groups. And there's a couple other examples like that. I think what seems to be missing is the thinking
we get from where we are now to where we think we want to go. The mayor has put forward a lot of aggressive, I hate to say control, desires, and probably a better way of putting it. We need to figure out how we can get there. Once they get more than we say.
So clarification, how would you, just give me a little more fidelity, that sounds like you're saying a roadmap from A to Z, and you're saying stuff's missing to get to Z in 20 years, is that kind of what you're saying? You're saying A to Z in 5, we're cool, we're fine.
I'm saying, yeah, so the A to B is good. That's here, it's in the document, it's great. And I think you and more staff, if the mayor sees fit to hire more staff, are planning to go forward for A to B. But there's no mention of what happens after B, except that maybe somewhere during A, we'll start thinking about C. But there's no thinking about Z.
So you're giving one letter of the alphabet out of 26 letters in A, and you're saying there's 24 more letters to touch. I'm just,
It's not absolute scale.
I think a good point, and I think it all starts with, we can't go beyond C or D because we haven't yet, what is not defined in the plan is the actual desired outcome. For example, in the objectives of the plan, it mentions Hawaii County's pursuit of, a quote, sustainable energy future, which is not clearly defined as well. So unless we know what the mayor or Bill, etc., have defined clearly as the sustainable energy future for Hawaii County, it's hard to go beyond C, D, and on and on.
I have similar comments, and I'll wait for my turn. Do you have anything else, Ron? Okay. I'm going to elaborate a little bit. But before I do that, on what Rod had just brought up and what we're actually talking about in terms of the objectives. Because in my mind, the objectives that we started with began with our recommendation to the mayor. And I'm going to read that because I think it's important. It's what we wanted to accomplish by having money put into the development of an energy sustainability plan. And then I'll refer back to the objectives that are outlined here, and that's where I believe there are gaps that are being referred to at this point that need to be perhaps enlarged upon. But before I say or get into that, I do want to say that the work that was done was meaningful in the context of what we attempted to do and the context of the objectives that were laid out in the introduction, in that it did provide a specific roadmap with very good recommendations and a lot of details associated with those recommendations for what can be done by the county and specifically by county government in the first 5 years. And so I applaud the report writers for taking us down that road. And I think that's a very significant and meaningful starting point, and obviously something we all embrace as getting us on the path towards energy sustainability. But, and that's all very important in the way we need to go, I think, as a beginning of this process. But my dissatisfaction is that the goals that I thought we were asking for out of this effort and out of the money that was put into this, this work were a little bit bigger in my mind. And I'm going to read what we actually recommended to the mayor for this, the funding of a comprehensive energy sustainability plan. And right in the title, it says comprehensive and not first 5 years. And so we're looking at something that actually takes us a little bit further. And I'll get into a few of the areas that I think are missing that would be helpful to actually get us there. But what we asked for, a lot of this was accomplished, but some of the critical components, I think, in terms of the actual, how we get to the achievement of energy sustainability are not here. Specifically, what we said to the mayor was a comprehensive energy sustainability plan is needed as soon as possible to appropriately guide Hawaii County with specific activities and initiatives that will lead to the achievement of energy sustainability for Hawaii County. We heard in the last presentation that the accomplishment of all of these initiatives within the first 5 years that are specified here only go a tiny way towards the actual achievement of energy sustainability. And so it's only accomplishing part of what we envisioned, or at least I envisioned the plan would help us accomplish. This type of plan will require firm milestone timelines and due dates for the various plan initiatives. Those are all in the details that were provided. We appreciate that. I think that's very meaningful. As well as the identification of budget needs and sources for the required activities, and to the extent possible, being backed up with the rule of law. It should include an effective public engagement process to permit the maximum cooperative participation and education and buy-in of island communities. That has not yet occurred. We're not really certain how that is going to occur, but we're being told that that's the next step of this process. I think it's very important that that does ultimately take place. This detailed type of plan development is essential to provide a firm roadmap for reaching the goal of energy sustainability. And that's where the objectives differ in my mind, specifically in terms of what we asked for and what is provided here. This is a starting point. This is not a plan that describes how we might ultimately become energy sustainable. And there's a big difference, I think, between those two things. And its development should be pursued through the engagement of expert consultants in collaboration with the Energy Advisory Commission, applicable county staff, and the community at large. Hold on a second.
No, hold on.
What the objectives that are stated in the plan say, which is slightly different than what we asked for, are the plan describes the critical role of the County of Hawaii in the pursuit of the island's sustainable energy future, and provides the county with a set of high priority policies and programs in the areas of renewable electricity, energy efficiency, and transportation energy. I don't disagree that this is what was provided. What I'm saying is that that's not exactly what we asked for. We asked for a more comprehensive plan that would at least outline an approach of how, as an island, we can become energy sustainable. And so that's one of the main general comments that I want to offer. The other comments, and so, when you, I've brought this up many times in the past. When you call this document the Energy Sustainability Plan, I think it needs to be tempered in that this is a plan that sets forth a set of high priority policies and programs, or it's a 5-year roadmap to the Energy Sustainability Plan. But it's not the plan that's going to allow us to become energy sustainable. It doesn't get us there. And in fact, it only gets us a tiny bit of the way there. And so to call it something, referring to it as the Energy Sustainability Plan, in my mind, is just not correct. It's a starting point. It's a valid and useful starting point, and one that we all need. But I think it can be misinterpreted in terms of what it ultimately is intended to accomplish. going at that. The second comment, these are some of the items I think were missing in the plan from my view. And we've all seen plans, many plans in the past that have been put together with great intentions that outline very meaningful objectives and steps and action plans to get there, but don't ever get implemented for one reason or another. The only way I think that a plan of this nature is going to be taken very seriously is if there is some establishment of a sense of urgency and the need for action. That was not addressed in the plan, in my view. This is basically looking at scenario planning in terms of what are some of the likely future scenarios that the plan may need to accommodate. And having essentially an assumption be that we're dealing with the status quo and we're only going to go forward from this point on, ignoring what future evolution might occur with respect to energy prices, availability of oil, a whole range of sustainability related issues that are really not put forth in here that provide a context for a sense of urgency, I think really does a disjustice to our efforts to get this adopted and moving forward in a quick way. If there were a sense of urgency that were established, even if it was a hypothetical, here's one scenario that could evolve and we need to move forward quickly in order to accomplish the goals such that we meet these objectives, then it provides a basis for political action and for it to be taken seriously and for actions to be actually accomplished. The only justification that's provided, as I see, for the undertaking of the initiatives is cost-benefit analysis. And so we're saying we're only going to pursue those things that make sense economically to pursue given the current conditions today. I don't think that tells the whole story of why we want an energy sustainability plan for the county, why we want Hawaii County to become sustainable. So I think there's a lot that's missing in terms of the justification and building the case in terms of the sense of urgency. Next general comment. We had spoken previously about the benefit of including best practices. There are places in the world where they are aggressively pursuing, and you guys mentioned 4 places, I believe, in one of the previous presentations you had given, where it is a priority for the achievement of becoming energy sustainable. And there are plans, obviously, in those different places that are going to move them towards that goal. And I think it's useful to reflect on those kinds of other best practices that are being employed in other places in the world. I didn't recall seeing a mention of those in here, even though it was provided in your verbal presentations to us. And it provides a sense of a precedent that we're not the only ones that are trying to achieve this goal. And it is an important goal that's being viewed by other places in the world. And it's something that there's a rationale for wanting to achieve this condition of being sustainable. And so to the extent that that can be put forth with best practices that are being observed in other places to help accomplish those goals, I think that adds to the case, that builds the case of becoming more of a comprehensive sustainability plan. Some of the issues that were brought up by some of the other commissioners with respect to education, I can agree with more. I think that for whatever reason, it was not necessarily viewed that the county will have a role in this plan in educating the residents of the island about what to do to become sustainable. And I think that it's not just a matter of the county making improvements to their own facilities and leading by example, but they can actually bring resources on to go out and educate people, to hold seminars, to workshops, whatever it takes to help the residents of this island understand what they can do on their own as well. It's not just what the county can do by itself. It's the county representing the population of the island, helping everybody collectively on the island become sustainable. So education, in my view, is a really big component that cannot be ignored in the achievement of energy sustainability. And so I think that's a valid area that really needs to be addressed. Along those lines, there's the whole issue of community partnerships. And so we have a CDP process where energy initiatives and objectives are identified based on specific regions and collective intentions of the folks in these CDP areas. And to the extent that the county can partner within the CDP process and bring resources to collaborate with the folks in these communities to help achieve their energy sustainability objectives is another area that I see really absent from the report, which I think is a really valid approach to the achievement of energy sustainability for the island. And again, you know, some of this goes back to the objectives. In my mind, the objective of having an energy sustainability plan for Hawaii County is for everyone, the whole island, to become ultimately energy sustainable. It's not just what the county government can currently do with the resources that it currently has. So developing collaborations and partnerships with the various CDP communities and processes that are ongoing, I think, and adding and involving those processes such that the communities really become more empowered to achieve their own objectives is a really important way that needs to be added as far as the achievement of the overall objective. Another area, a general, it might be a specific area, but I'll mention it now, is this whole idea of community energy. There was a very short section that dealt with microgrids, but the whole idea of community energy systems whereby energy systems can be collectively owned, whereby the individuals who own those can receive some benefit from the system, even though it may be a part of the grid system, is a whole area that was kind of skipped over in here. And that's a really important evolutionary area. You talk about the inequity of wealthy people being able to afford PV and everyone else being left out. Well, that's a mechanism that exists around the country now. A lot of different utilities and places are evolving these concepts such that you can create a level playing field and other folks can also get their energy from renewable energy systems, even though they can't necessarily afford to put a system on their own roof, or maybe they're in an apartment or a condo, or their roof won't support a system. They still have the ability to do that. I didn't see any mention of that in here. I think that's a very important mechanism to address the inequity concerns that are raised here with respect to participation with distributed energy and PV energy systems. I think I'm going to leave it there for right now. Obviously, well, let me just address this last general issue. It's not necessarily something that was missing from the report. It was something missing from the process. We've already talked about it. It's the whole community engagement part of the process. we've heard today, as we're learning about the evolution of all this, that that's still something that's going to occur after the commission provides its feedback and the report gets adapted and adjusted based on that feedback. And so I just want to reiterate that the process is needed that will provide effective input by the community, meaning it shouldn't just be, here's what we've come up with as an educational sort of presentation. It should be a meaningful process whereby the community, where the various communities that this plan is unveiled to, have an opportunity to provide meaningful insight and feedback regarding what's important to them and what they see that may need to be included as well, and they have an opportunity to actually help in the evolution and the revision of the plan. I see that as, it's not, when I talk about engagement, community engagement, I'm not saying community education. I'm talking about taking feedback and incorporating that into the plan. So I just wanted to be clear what I meant by a public engagement process. And I think that's what you guys intended when you gave us all those presentations about what your community engagement process looks like. So those are my comments for the record in the general common area. Let's, did you guys want to say anything about any of that?
No.
Okay, let's go around the room now and deal with some of the specific comments that we might have regarding, I guess this is more like corrections and.
But they're working on a new draft of executive something, correct? So if you now we're ready to talk specifics.
Okay, maybe we should.
No, I disagree actually, Kurt. Okay. No, I think that it's good, I mean, I think, so that this process doesn't go on forever, it would be really good, to give us as much specific feedback as possible.
I mean, we have already received like word corrections and everything, the ones we've already found, you know, we already have taken those down, so we don't have to spend time on typos. For our benefit, for your benefit. Unless you find new typos that we haven't told them.
I can start. So I do appreciate, I know Steve has the background, he was an energy coordinator, he's also worked for utility, he's a public figure, EAC chair, and now probably private business, who knows. But long story short, I want the process to be good. You guys, these are really good comments, so where do I start? Could you guys do all of Steve? Do you think it's practicable to do that swap that he just laid out? I mean, we got to talk realistically. What can be accomplished?
Well, I'm a little concerned, Stephen, talked about benefit, cost benefit analysis. I think you can do that by using forecasts of pricing. So I don't think just because you're trying to do benefit cost analysis, you can't do it necessarily, you're not constrained by what prices are paid.
I think my comment was more like, that's the basis for the recommendations that were made in this report. But I think we have to go beyond cost benefit if you're actually looking at the achievement of sustainability.
Like seeing, look, I think what Will is saying, or you gotta deal with what resources the county has today, you could also make reasonable extrapolation of what's possible that the county might have the resources in the future. So I would say that you could address that. So to me, it's always, the farther out you go, the murkier your vision becomes, but you can still have a vision. You just need to qualify it. For the first 5 years, you know way more than you're gonna know 10 years before. You always need to qualify.
Right. What I did really like was Steve added some moving pieces that actually help you construct the future. He added some pieces that maybe don't exist, so you can move that future to a more sustainable island. So, anyway, I want to hear you see comments on Steve's comments.
I like those in general, I like the idea of having a sense of urgency. That was important, and I don't think that's going to add a lot to the plan. I like the idea of having the public feedback and education is important. And having it, I don't know if it's feasible to bring the whole plan to the whole mass of the island, because right now it's talks about what county we do it. It's a great idea that we need to do that, but I don't know if this plan can do that. That's a good, I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I just, I think I was wondering, I didn't understand when you said we should, talk about a sense of urgency, or you didn't think it would? Yes.
Well, I think we should
Oh,
bring that. I like that idea.
But what you're saying was, do you think that's doable?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is doable.
From a
Do you
narrative,
think
from a
it's
narrative perspective.
From, and you work in county, so this is good to ask you, do you think county has the capacity and where that would be? Steve talked about county having the education, outreach and those components, so I'm just wondering how that gets done.
Well, we've done the community development plan outreach,
Through the planners, right, department planning.
so we have that experience as a county.
And Alex would tell me that was, it was a long.
Right, it probably
This whole, that's why he was hired as a consultant to do CDPs. The county didn't have the capacity to do it. They hired Alex and he turned into such a superstar.
So I think it's doable. That's your question. That's my opinion. That's all.
And we'll be a little bit on the CEPs, because I've been a little bit involved in that. As some of my staff that attend those meetings and try to follow along, it is more of a visionary process. They, like us, they don't have as much of an analytical capability. So I don't know to what extent you can incorporate that in the plan. That it's more of what would the public, what direction does the public, these communities specifically, what directions would they like to go, what is the vision, as to whether you can, over what time frame you can make resources and plan and actually meet those visions. That's a whole bit question. So I've got a little bit limited much in those CEP plans.
How does the county's decision, how does it interlock with the hierarchy? Like, how is that?
I don't know that there is a connection. The commission has an advisory group process, which, as you know, is an invited group of 68 advisory group members. I don't know what the correlation is, so how many of them are on community development groups.
Quite a few big island representatives.
Now, and if that's the case, if those persons have had involvement in the CEP process, then they will have valid input.
Got it.
Well, the vision must always come before the plan, correct? This plan was created on somebody's vision. Whatever that vision was this quantified sustainable energy future for Hawaii County. But I don't see how it's quantified, this definition of the vision, this so-called sustainable energy future. It's very hard to craft a plan without specifically knowing in quantified terms what that is. So, you know, when you do these, community development plans, like Kirk said, it's a visioning process. How do you wanna see the community? And that's where the public really comes into place. If we need to do that step first, then the plan needs to be put aside for now. Get through the community visioning process of defining this sustainable energy future for Hawaii County. Then once we know exactly what these goals are, now we can start working on the plan.
So I think that process did start out with a stakeholder engagement, and it was at least, what, 30-ish, maybe more. So, do you, do you feel like guys' response, do you feel like you went out to the community and got a feel for what they want? You went to stakeholders.
So, there's always been a little bit of uncertainty or confusion about what exactly the desired end state is, and when. So originally, we were thinking, the long-term 2030, 100% sustainable is what was a reasonable kind of goal. And we actually, even when we presented that idea to EAC, we got some pushback on that as potentially being not achievable and not really realistic goal, though we wanted to maintain it. Since then, we've heard, from the mayor that actually the goal is 2015. So there's always been a little bit of uncertainty there. But with the bulk of the work here is as you know, this 5-year roadmap, and that's because the county currently doesn't have the capacity to really do a heck of a lot. There's one employee devoted to energy, and so in a lot of ways the county is starting from scratch and needs to build the capacity to engage in a lot of different ways. So what we've laid out is the highest priority policies and programs for the county to get started, kind of from starting from not zero, but A, say. And so that's kind of what we're talking about here. The long-term stuff, it's not. We have never really known whether or not we're trying to achieve the county's vision for a sustainable island, whatever that may be, whenever that might occur, or community and a community vision. And I think the way that the project proceeded, what we did instead of going out into the community and doing a long process of charrettes and those kinds of things, which would take many years to do as they do with the CDPs, we consulted with a number of stakeholders and experts, 50 or 60 of them, as well as we kind of mined the existing policy documents that the state has produced and the county has produced in the past to kind of glean, and those are all community-based documents, so we tried to glean what the common objectives were from those documents as a proxy for doing direct meetings with the community in advance of the plan writing itself. And to be honest with you, I think if you were to go out and ask the community what they want in terms of an energy future, you find complete agreement with the guiding principles as we described them in the plan. So I don't, based on the time constraints that we have for this project, trying to complete the project as quick a time as we can, the budget that we have, the resources that we have, I think we have a pretty good proxy.
I agree with that. I think the time frame and resources, it's kind of mission impossible. That's the Kohala Center to go out and try to reach all the communities because there's so many of them. The other thing that I think is difficult is that while we have county government, we don't have community government. So you kind of have that gap there. How do you broach that gap? Because it's the county government really that allocates the resources across the communities. It's not the communities with their own resources being able to do that. So how do you make, the rubber meet the road, community meet the county's plan? It's going to take a long time to do that. I don't think it's got that time for that resource to do so. I'd like to see a plan, and maybe in phase 2, we try to know.
And another point many planning processes that are going on in parallel, as you know, and so, you know, the general plan for the county is going to be updated in the next year or 2 or 3, depending on when they decide to start that process. The community development plans that are ongoing, you know, have been developed. The IRP is occurring now for the electric utility. So there's a number of things that are happening. The long-range ground transportation plan for this island is kind of wrapping up now. So there's a lot of planning processes that impact energy that are already occurring and involve a great deal of community input. The objectives of this plan are, you know, at the direction of the county, the objectives are what is it the county can do, make this actionable, make this detailed, and really, you know, get this off the ground. So that's kind of, that is the